according to the testimony of pathologists who examined the body of the executed Lavrenti Beria. Lavrenti Beria had 7 centimeters, and he had exactly the same device. Robert Garrow, another serial rapist who had about the same number of victims as Beria. There was also Georgy Yordanov, who also, fitting into his name, into the annals of maniacal history, he possessed a slightly more impressive construction. He had 8 centimeters, but none of these scoundrels were stopped by the modest size and poor condition of their penis from committing serial assaults. Today, Russia looks quite similar with its stalled army, an army that stalled at the most inopportune, one might say at the most crucial moment when Trump himself, my morning Diet Coke, drinks in the Oval Office examining electronic maps and satellite panoramas of Donbass, and chuckles this redhead, noting that, isn't it? The Russian army has practically no tanks left, not even the oldest ones, and Putin's horde is moving on donkeys and mopeds. He sees the consequences of strikes on Russian airfields, particularly on Engels, where more than 100 prepared missiles and aircraft were destroyed. Partly, here lies the answer to the question why, in recent days, let's say in noticeable contrast to talks of peace, why the Russian bombing frenzy has taken on such, I would say, a special scale. The matter is likely not only in Putin's desire for a lasting peace. Not only for this reason has he taken it upon himself especially, furiously, and ruthlessly bomb Ukrainian cities. Perhaps the matter is what, well, in general, of course, in the orcs love to kill, to maim the sleeping defenseless. Russian bombers and missile operators, they love all those high-rise buildings, markets, crowded train stations, shopping centers at full capacity, and the red-bannered aviation, as is known, got a taste for mass killings back there in Mariupol. And since then, as they say, always wants to repeat. Of course, well, I mean that in summing. Yesterday's bombing injured about 100 people, including 23 children, with 14 severely maimed. Well, of course, high-rises or small houses in Sumy don't give the air orcs as much satisfaction as a full theater of children in Mariupol, like a maternity hospital or like a children's clinic in Kyiv. But nevertheless, it's not just about the pleasures that the Russian bombers get. The point is that for Putin, let's say in conjunction with the current negotiation process and the special close attention of the Pentagon, the White House, Europe, it is becoming increasingly difficult for Putin each day to portray the Russian army as a terrifying and all-sweeping horde. And we understand, we know how comical all their operations are, their pipes, the occupation of 3 abandoned IED pigsties. And these negotiation days are important. Of course, Russia would very much like to show what is called its fangs, but things are very bad with the fangs. Even though the Russian Führer is there now, when he is not being filmed, Russian television is tearing, raging, and stomping its feet, demanding breakthroughs and big advances forward from his million-strong horde. And in Donbass, they have been storming for a month, a couple of barns, so far generally without much success. And Putin feels an understandable awkwardness in front of his American colleagues when talking about victories, about some encirclements, cauldrons. It is becoming increasingly difficult for him. And to feel this shameful pause, with fire and blood, the Russians have intensified and increased the bombings of everything that is totally covered by air defense.